One. I'm just watching the YouTube stream at the moment.
Is anything happening
yet? It says it's live.
Is it?
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Cody Chavez from Nostalgic Nebula. Thank you for joining us here for our Hellraiser 2 Hellbound watch party. Tonight we are raising donations for a nonprofit, the Frida Cinema. The Frida served as our mother venue since her inception in 2016. You couldn't find a more welcoming art house cinema, a cultural center in Santa Ana, California, one of the greatest communities of first-class staff and troops of volunteers, and some of the greatest programming, bringing you everything from indie to foreign and cult classic films. Go to the link on your screen or go into our info section below, and you can give to the Frida. We really appreciate it during this time while we were closed. We're going to keep on treading forward, and we hope to see you again in the future in our cinema. Now, without further ado, I'd like to welcome our guests, everybody you've been waiting to see. He is the author of Behind the Mask of the Horror Actor. You can catch him on his new YouTube channel, reading Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, actor Doug Bradley. And you can catch him on the horror anthology series Dark Ditties, available on Amazon Prime right now, actor Simon Bamford. We also have Chatter, Nicholas Vince, who penned the origin story for his character, Chatter, in the Hellraiser Anthology 2. We also have the author of the Venus Complex, Barbie Wilde. She joins us tonight. We have the writer of Hellraiser 2 and Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, Peter Atkins, and the composer of Hellraiser 1 and Hellraiser 2, Christopher Young. You may also recognize our special guest from Saturday Night Live. You may have seen her with her Hellraiser t-shirt that she's sporting right now. We have comedian Heidi Gardner. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Now,
can I just point out that I also played the female Cenobite. Thank you for mentioning my book.
I don't know why you. I don't know why you keep pretending this, Barbie. Everybody knows you play the female Cenobite, so just let's stop the pretense.
For those of you who didn't know that she was the female Cenobite, we'll be having a word for you in your own hell. That there's a special place for you if you didn't know that. The wonderful Barbie Wilde. Thank you guys for joining us for this special watch party of Hellraiser to Hellbound. A number of years ago, for the 30th anniversary, we did a great double feature of Hellraiser 1 and 2 here at the Frida Cinema. We did a tribute to Christopher Young's score. We had him here at the theater, and we had a string quartet perform a live tribute to the scores for both Hellraiser 1 and Hellraiser 2. This was due in big part to Fangoria, who was a sponsor of our event. We couldn't have done it without them. They had people at the event, passing out their new magazines. They had just been getting started. We loved Fangoria back in the day before they shut down. And as soon as we found out that they were back, we wanted to do something with them. So we thank them for joining us, for bringing us the double feature of Hellraiser 1 and 2 back in 2018. Thank you, Fangoria. For those of you who couldn't make it to the event, we have a little special treat before we get started with the film and the watch party. We're going to be playing for you a clip from that very performance. And so please enjoy a clip of our string quartet performance conducted by Flora Chang.
Performed and they're your arrangements. Or your arrangements, right? Yes.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Chris Young.
Christopher, how are you? Oh, I'm doing fine. Very good. Very good.
Hello, everybody. We are back now. Thank you for joining us this evening for our Hellbound Hellraiser 2 watch party. We have with us Christopher Young. He's the composer of Hellraiser. Simon Bamford. He played Butterball. Barbie Wilde, the female Cenobite. We have Chatter and Nicholas Vince, writer Peter Atkins. We have Doug Bradley, Pinhead himself, and we have SNL's Heidi Gardner. Thanks, guys, for joining us again. We hope you enjoyed our clip from our 2018 string quartet performance in tribute to the scores of Hellraiser and Hellraiser 2. We had Christopher Young there with us at the Freda Cinema. It was a great honor having him here with us, being able to do that for him. So once again, thank you, everybody. This is the Freda Cinema. It's a nonprofit organization in Southern California. It's the home base of operations for me when I do events in Orange County. You're not going to find any better place to catch classic films like Hellraiser, other indie films, and cult classics, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, everything. So once we get back open, please come on back in. But for now, we're going to be doing little fun things like this watch party of Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. If you've got your DVDs queued up, we're going to be starting in just a moment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1, play. And that's when you hit the play button when I say play. All right, guys, if you're ready, I'm going to start that countdown right now. 3, 2, 1, play.
Hey.
Right then.
Ooh,
Yeah.
logos.
I'm already
Hellraiser-
10 seconds ahead. Sorry.
There, no problem. If we're all a little off, that's quite all right. Everybody's a buzz in the comment section right now. They're all saying hello. Somebody asked, what Hellraiser was Doug's best experience? Clearly Hellraiser 2, but what's Doug's answer?
Best experience?
Yeah, so which Hellraiser film was your best experience on? I'm not sure what best means, but...
I don't know. I hate being asked questions like this.
The first one I asked, great.
I didn't have a bad time on any of them, and I have good memories from all of them for different reasons. Hellraiser, obviously, because it was the starting point, and it was my first movie. Hellbound for getting to be driven through the fabled portals of Pinewood Studio for the first time, and being aware of all the giants who had gone before me and disbelieving that this was happening to me. And I always cite Hellraiser 3 in a lot of ways. I just seem to have had a great time on that movie. A play hard, work hard film, I always describe it as. No one outstanding moment, I wouldn't say, but I had my moments. Don't get me wrong. I had my moments when I would I would have traded places with anybody. You know, why me, Lord? Why me? But generally speaking, all good.
For those of you who were in Nightbreed, we have a person asking which film held the more challenging roles for you to perform Nightbreed versus Hellraiser? Nicholas.
Okay, Hellraiser, couldn't really see, couldn't speak, couldn't hear. Nightbreed, you're only like an hour into makeup and costume. Nightbreed, 5 hours into makeup and costume, nothing like what Doug had to go through. So, you know, it swings and roundabouts as far as I was concerned.
I mean, the thing for me, I think was that the makeup for Pinhead had become absolutely integral to the performance for me, and that now also included getting picked up at stupid o'clock in the morning, driven around the North Circular Road, arriving at Pinewood Studios, sitting in the makeup chair and going through the makeup process and then going to set. That had all become part of the process of getting into the character for me. The problem with Nightbreed, especially early on, was that I was getting up at the same stupid o'clock time, being driven by the same driver around the North Circular Road to Pinewood Studios, and sitting in a makeup room with exactly the same makeup artists, having makeup applied in almost exactly the same way as the Pinhead makeup was applied. So everything in my head was saying, this is Pinhead, and I had to keep, saying to myself, no, it isn't. You're in the wrong movie, love.
And for me, there was only one movie where actually I used to go down there and everybody would be in makeup for hours and hours, and I sat and had prosthetic nipples applied. So you don't get better than that. So 7 in the morning, somebody twiddling your nipples and getting paid for it.
It's true. Bob Keane, the head of Image Animation, used to do it, didn't he, Simon?
Yeah, until he taught me how to do it myself.
That's a great day in every young boy's life, isn't it, Simon? You learn how to do it yourself. Yeah.
You never used to charge
Exactly.
me. I didn't have to pay you.
God, how young does Doug look? He's opening the box on TV.
He does.
Sitting
Wow.
cross-legged. I love playing with the toys.
He
Look at
looks a
that
bit
wig.
like
Missing the film. Hold on, let's see.
he looks a bit like Dominic Cumberbatch, don't you think?
Ah, I see it.
He's slimmer.
His brother.
I love that shot.
Staged up special effects there.
Oh, that, yeah.
That looks like it hurts.
Yeah.
That box was huge too, wasn't it? Was,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big foreground.
Foreshortening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same way they did the Lord of the Rings.
And it was great camera work too. The zooming in on the front of the radio there.
Oh yeah, well, you know, the DP, the director of photography for this and Hellraiser was a great Robin Vidgeon, who worked with Ken Russell among other people, and his operator, who's really the guy who has to get in there and make that pull-out work, is a guy called Dave Worley. So, you know, big thumbs up to Robin and Dave and their team.
And they also
the desire for the shot was Tony Randall, the director's desire to emulate a Hitchcock shot in the first shot in his first directed movie. So, so I'm sure Dave and Robin were cursing.
That opening is fantastic. It's really brilliant.
These nails being hammered in, they look a bit like Dr. Chenard's tentacles that are hammering them in. It's gone now, but
yes, happened apparently.
That's right.
It's hilarious. We're all like 8 seconds out in what we're watching.
oh,
I'm saying like, what fucking tentacles? Oh yeah, that bit.
Okay,
so
I'm looking
happy
at the
this point.
detective at the moment. There's Ashley.
I'm
Are
Ashley.
we? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No,
Hi,
we're
Ashley, if you're
looking at
watching.
the same place.
It's very film noir, this, isn't it? Very classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it works great, you know, delving deeper into the lore of Hellraiser, having Kirsty and having go back to Chenard's place and finding all these little artifacts. And we don't get full explanations, but just everything we see within Chenard's study is a world of stories that could be told.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Hey, there's a good title for a movie, Chenard's Study or something like that. You know, just exploring that one room.
Yes.
Right.
Now, I'm looking at a policeman now with a interesting mustache. So are we?
What euphemism is that supposed to be, Ms. Wilde? Interesting mustache. What are you saying?
He's slightly ahead of the rest of us, I think. But he does have
I'm
an
looking at the
interesting
house.
He's very
He does have a
gun-happy.
very prominent mustache and a nice profile. Ooh.
He does. I've just reached the policeman's mustache, so to speak.
Me too.
There's another good title for a movie. Stop.
Yeah, the policeman's mustache. Very good.
The
It's like a
policeman's mustache and a hammer.
country
The
house
secret
murder
policeman's
mystery,
mustache. Has that been done?
So actually, I could put on the subtitles too. You did that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Nick? Yeah.
I can get my subtitles. It just keeps saying subtitle off.
You subtitle off.
I'm right in saying they had maggot wranglers, didn't they?
They did. They did.
Yeah.
They had
Yes,
maggot
they
wranglers.
did.
Yeah. No
They
horror
did.
film
There was
complete
huge
without maggot wranglers. Come on.
Yes. No
There were
maggots were
huge boxes of cockroaches.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty
Yeah,
gross.
unfortunately, Simon, no, we can't say no maggots were harmed in the making of this film because some of the heavy-footed crew, sorry, maggots.
And frankly, who gives a shit?
Very speciesist of you, Doug. Very speciesist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
The mattress.
You know. You're at the mattress already?
I'm at the mattress already.
Good
I
Lord.
just blew it because I
You
wanted
on
to turn on my
forward? You're
subtitles.
trying to get through this in a hurry, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got it set on 32 frames a second. Especially because here comes Ken. My God. Yap, yap,
I've
yap.
reached
Who
the-
writes this shit for him?
I love that line, tag it and move it. I don't know what
And
happened.
about how long after the production wrapped for Hellraiser 1 did Hellraiser 2 get going?
We was
Yeah.
Quickly, very quickly.
Well, we wrapped in autumn '86. Principal photography,
Yes.
Hellraiser. released in
Yeah,
87.
Yes.
And we were making this in 88, is that right? I think so. This came out at the beginning of 89, and then we were making Nightbreed by spring 89.
Oh, look, COVID-19.
Okay, can someone tell me right now where we are?
Don't
We're in
front.
surgery.
But we're not paying any attention to it, Bobby. We're just talking. Tell some funny stories.
Ken Cranham has arrived.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's walking down a corridor.
Well, I had a question for Christopher.
Oh, yes.
There are some, I mean, I love the score. And I think Doug and I have said to you before, I know that Doug always used to play Hellraiser when he was doing the later films.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Doug.
It's I don't know that there are many better scores, and you outdid yourself in the sequel from your first score. But you finish your question, Nick.
I was going to say, what was your inspiration for them? Where did you start when you were composing? How did you put all these ideas together?
For part two, as I recall, and Peter, you can correct me on this, but I think Tony's bit was, whereas the first one, as you know, Hellraiser is a sick love story, basically. Wrapped in a horror film is this very sad and sick love story, and that's what, as I recall, Clive was wanting most for the music to make sure it sold. This time around, Tony was like, I just want this to be a celebration of horror, for it to come out of the closet and be loud and brash and balls to the walls. And so as the pictures, it opens up with a collage or montage of scenes from the first movie mixed in mono, right? And music from the first film. And it kind of reminded me of the film that had just come out called The Road Warrior, the sequel to the first film, in which they did the montage at the beginning in mono, and then the curtains open and were in stereo. And I think was his thing. He was, Tony said, listen, after the opening, it's just credits, and we're going to go from mono to stereo. So we want the music to come in like just smashing really heavy, and we're going to be in stereo. It's going to go from mono to stereo. So hopefully it'll sound like this is the new and improved version. So what I definitely had in my mind was, I've got to up the ante here. There was a little bit more money for the score in the second one. The orchestra is bigger, not much bigger, but the first film had 4 French horns. This one, Hellbound, had 8 French horns, and that's why it sounds kind of fatter and uglier. Also, a choir. There was a choir in it. We didn't have the money for the choir in the first one, and it wouldn't have been appropriate. So I do think that by Tony giving me that green light to come out of the closet, as it were, and just make a lot of bombast, made me feel like I could have my head explode and do this kind of like musical sonic vomit and just let it all hang out, as it were. So I remember we recorded the main title that was recorded in Germany. That was recorded in Munich, whereas the first one was done in LA. We were going to record the second one in LA, and we got busted. It got shut down. And so Tony said, we're going to have to do this overseas. I knew a guy in Munich. We went to Munich. We pulled up the main title. I remember flying over, and I was a nervous wreck. I mean, that's when I was used to chain smoking. You couldn't smoke on the planes. And I remember talking to my then wife about jumping out of the plane. I was so worried. But we got there. We put the main title on, as I always do. I always put the main titles, the first cue I put up. We ran through it. I remember Tony, because this is before you did synth mock-ups, it was just like, you sat at the piano when you remember that, Peter, like playing on the piano. And I'm a terrible pianist, so we'd have to imagine what it sounded like. And I always would make mistakes. And so, boom, we pull up the main title, we run through it once, and I just remember Tony putting me in his jaw and, You know, because I was the only guy, because I orchestrated it and I didn't do the parts, but I was the only one who really knew what it was going to sound like. And I was scared shitless. It wasn't going to sound like I'd imagined it was in my head. And so we did the downbeat, bam, we run through the cue, and it's like, yeah, it's alive. It's alive. He was happy, and I think we plugged through that fairly quickly. Yeah, that was
it's a great score, Chris. It's a magnificent score.
I didn't speak German. They didn't speak English. The only word I learned in German was I think it's Pause, which means break. You know, so I learned the word break, and they loved me for that one, and that was about it. But so it was.
Oh, they told you that's what it meant?
Yeah. So, but they didn't. Yeah, they didn't speak English, and I didn't speak German, and so we had a tough time communicating. But they played their guts out, and so that was a great experience. Which one is the better of the two? Going back to the question that you asked, Doug, which of the two scores do I prefer? Hellraiser seems to be the one that caught more people's attention, I think, because of the nature of the story. Clive wanting it to be a sick love story, and he desperately wanted the music to ensure that that's the way the film was going to be perceived. There's that one scene, and then I'll shut up here in a moment. I'm babbling on here. But there's that scene in Hellraiser, which is absolutely my favorite scene, which is the one in which Julia has the flashback, and she remembers when she first met Frank. And right, you remember this one? Yeah.
Yeah.
And start off by restating the main title theme, the mystery theme, or whatever, the Hellraiser theme. And then we go into her remembering making love to him. And I remember Clive saying, you know, this is so important, getting this one right. He said, if we don't sell that she's like, even though she's an abused woman here, that she is addicted to this guy for all the wrong reasons and would do anything for him, we're in deep trouble. I think that's probably my favorite cue in the picture, because I remember when I scored that, this is before we had the money to project it against picture. We transferred it onto MAG. We played it in the editing room at New World. Clive and Tony was there, I think, and we played it back, and it's the first time I'd seen it to picture. And I remember when we finished it, there was dead silence in the room, and because I'd been up like all night, I think I started crying, and Tony we all hugged each other because we said, "Holy shit, this music is maybe doing something here." And I think that was the cue, actually, that made me finally put it together in my head and say to myself, you know what, maybe you really should be a film composer. Maybe you should stop running away from it and just, you know, shoot it up and be done with it.
But that is such an important moment with watching the film for the first time. And that, you know, you could feel it. It was so visceral what she was going through. And the music was underlying, was just so beautiful. And there's two magnificent scores amongst many that you've done. How
lucky we're to be a part of that movie, you know, how it changed our lives. My God, there's not a day, or at least a week, that doesn't go by where I'm being reminded of it, especially, you know, as we get older and I'm not getting as many calls as I used to. So this one comes back, and it was Hellraiser, or Hellbound, you know. And I would have done the third one, Doug, but the money up for the music was actually less than it was for part two. And I said, you know what, I'm not in here to make money on this. I didn't make any money off the two movies anyway. I put it all into the music because I knew it was an investment in the future. But I kind of knew in my head that if I couldn't outdo myself on part three, what was the purpose? And I would have done three, I swear. I would have done them all, probably. But they cut back, as you know. The money on the third one was significantly less, I think, than on part two. They came up with more money, cut back on part three.
Well, the original plan with part 3 was to have a rock soundtrack anyway.
Really? You know, I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, Hellraiser, the song that Ozzy Osbourne wrote that Motorhead recorded was the only survivor, I think, from that. But in fact, I got a call at one point from a guy who was they were preparing a kind of Hellraiser Palooza tour of all the bands who were going to be contributing songs to Hellraiser, and they were asking me if I would tag along as MC. And then they changed their minds and got a symphonic score on it in the end.
Although they did, trying to milk every bit of money out of it that they could, they did release 2 soundtrack albums. Randy Miller's score, you're right, Doug, but they did put out a second, I don't know what you call it, when most of the songs on the CD aren't actually in the movie, but they did put out a rock CD as well as Randy's score, which obviously used a lot.
Third movie. For the third one or for Hellbound?
Oh no, for the third one.
The third one, they did, okay.
Yeah, Randy Miller, utilizing all your themes basically, did a symphonic score, but they also, for number 3, but they also released a great rock hit.
Yeah, I remember being told that there had been a screening of the film at the Dylan Dog Festival. Good Lord, there's sex going on my screen.
Isn't it fabulous?
Where was I? Yes, the Dylan Dog Festival in Italy, and I was told about that, and apparently that was screened with the full rock score as originally intended. But I've never seen that, and I don't know whether any versions of that still exist.
Well, I mean, I don't know that that's not true, but I do know that, by the time the finished movie was loaded, Randy's score was on it. So I maybe some sort of early work prints that they
maybe. Why are we talking about Hellraiser 3? We're supposed to be watching.
I'm not sure, because I'm looking at seeing. It's all Hellraiser 1 at the moment, which what I'm looking
there's a lot of flash. I hadn't realized how much flashback.
I hadn't realized how many flashbacks there were. And
I
there was,
love coming out.
Claire Higgins going full throttle on Skinless Frank's fingers was quite
going full throttle.
Skinless Fingers. They were my favorite punk band.
Speaking of full throttle with fingers and
your fingers.
Yeah, it's just, she really gave everything in that. I mean, she's just such a full throttle actress. She's such a diva in this film. I just love it. Oh, now I'm watching, Andy Robinson getting ripped apart. Just now, I'm probably ahead of you.
Spoilers.
Was Claire, her character, Julia, was she, when you first started writing the film, was she always supposed to be coming back, or was that planned ahead of time?
Oh, yeah. So did you ask Doug? Go ahead, Doug.
Or no, I was asking Peter. You.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I didn't write it, Pete.
Not only was she supposed to come back, by the time I'd been brought in to write Hellbound, Hellraiser was completed but hadn't been released. And they didn't know just what an impression Doug was going to make on the public. And Chris Figg, who was the producer, and Clive, both kind of assumed and wanted Julia to be our Freddy Krueger. That was the phrase at the time. I remember they said, write good shit for Julia. We want her to be our female Freddy Krueger. They thought the through line of the series was going to be Julia. And then I think I'd written it, and before the third draft, Hellraiser came out, and some very smart person in New World's marketing department had put this guy's face right there in the middle of the fucking poster. And after that, it was, well, I think we have our continuing character.
No, I was told that originally they wanted Skin Frank on the poster, and they were told
maybe sure
you can't do that. You can't have a skinless man, standing next to people at the bus stop. So I kind of got on by default. But I know that certainly Clive's original intention was that he was creating the first great female monster in horror movies, and I don't think he expected that we guys, with the nails and no eyes and the teeth and the gaping wounds in the throats and the leather and the hooks and the chains, were going to sneak up on the blind side and make off with the prize. I mean, I can't imagine in hindsight that nobody would have said, well, now wait a minute, you put these guys on a screen this big, the impact is going to be huge, no matter how great a character Julia is. And I've talked to people here who remember when the first movie was being released in the States, and several people have said to me it was weird because there was quite a lot of publicity for it, and there were interviews with Clive, and there were interviews with Ashley, and there were interviews with other prominent cast members, and then every time they showed a clip, it was the Cenobites.
Yeah.
And we were all thinking, yeah, okay, well, who are these guys? Who are these guys? But I didn't do a scrap of publicity, not an interview or anything for Hellraiser. None of that.
Mysterious.
Until with Hellbound.
Definitely in reference to the score, Doug. In the first film, I believe when you guys first enter, the music is more in that sort of ambient industrial world. There's not really a tune connected to you. I don't make as much of a deal out of it. By the second film, certainly, when you guys make your entrance, I can't remember exactly what moment it is if I'm not watching the movie.
Is that when Tiffany opens the box? Is that
exactly? It's like, I think Tony said, okay, these guys are the stars now. Let's get something going for them. And so the music certainly had to herald your entrance in a way that it didn't in the first movie. That signified musically certainly a shift. Yeah. So you had,
can I ask Heidi, because Heidi was very young when she first saw this. What your first impressions were? What your lasting impressions of seeing it?
Well, when I was little, the first horror movie character I think I ever saw was Freddy Krueger. And that was the scariest thing I had ever seen until I saw Cenobites. And it was like, because there's something, because they're humans and nails in their heads, and it was, it just blew my mind. A monster and a human. Sorry, I'm getting weird feedback here. Yeah, it was just a sight that I never wanted to see again. So I hid myself from it for a long time. Like even in the video stores, I would walk by the case and I would know Hellraiser was coming up and just like shield myself from it until just like a few years ago when I was like, I need to know what the Cenobites world is. So that's when I actually watched the movie all the way through, because it had haunted me for so long. And then as an adult, I just think it's so incredible. Like you think that you're going to get a movie about Pinhead because that's what you see on the poster. And then there's more and there's a skinless Frank, and there's all this love back. It's just like the best horror movie. It's awesome.
Speaking
well,
of
we're just watching
Oliver Smith.
skinless Julia now.
Yeah, and
Sucking the life force
out of the mattress. It's badass.
It's an awful lot of blood. I'm hearing everybody twice something.
Yeah,
Somewhere.
Me too.
It's like it's a horror movie.
Right.
Saying that
I think
I'm getting
what distinct you guys
Maybe
is that
turn your volume just a little bit on coming from the feed.
What was that? Should we?
I was going to say, whereas with Freddie was always running around, right? You guys didn't move a lot, did you? And that's sort of what distinguished you. You were.
We weren't chasing people through the forest with a chainsaw, girls in boob tubes. You know, we were just so the stillness was what made it so creepy.
That was so smart. You know, it was the frozen frame of you guys not doing what was expected of the slasher style film, which is Mad Men on the Loose, chop, 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 like Freddie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Freddie kind of told jokes, and the Cenobites are serious,
that's right.
scary.
That's right.
Poetic.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
And who had worked on all of these artifacts that are here in Chouinard's study, all these magazine articles that he's been collecting? Really great.
I didn't.
I heard magazine article.
It's like word soup at the moment.
Going a bit off with the sound.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
Lovely Ken Cranham is confronting skinless Julia.
Let me just do some adjusting. I'm just going to adjust the audio. Any better?
No.
You're doing
I
it.
turned my audio down.
I think we got it. Does it sound good?
We
Doesn't
should.
seem to make any difference.
It seems that God, Ken looks so young. Ken looks so young. So I wanted to go to Deborah Joel. Deborah Joel is the lady inside the
She never got a good. Did she not do anything else? She was so beautiful.
Those big piercing blue eyes in red. But yeah, Deborah Joel.
Did this film have a decent budget? Because to me, there's a lot going on, like in comparison to the first one.
Oh, this is a lot more gory and sexy.
Could you turn your volume down, Christopher? Chris?
Yeah, okay. Is that we're doing it? Yep.
Yeah, just turn it down a little, just in case it's coming.
Is that what's doing it?
We'll play around. We'll see. We'll weed out who's who's volume.
I'm trying to use myself, and it doesn't make any difference.
In answer your question, I wouldn't have the foggiest clue because again, music doesn't come on until the very end about what budget for the entire movie was. It certainly looks like there was more money. Peter, you'd know this better than anyone, but maybe were our fees any higher on this one than the last one? That's sort of a giveaway, but not mine. But for the score, they definitely had more money. That I know, and they were willing to fly overseas to record it. So there must have been something, right? The first movie made money, did it not?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That made somebody a lot of money.
Yeah, it made somebody a lot of money. But no, you're right, Chris. I think they did. Obviously, they had a hit, and they wanted to help get a second hit. But also, I think a lot of it to do with a lot of it. I'm sorry about this double echo. I don't think it's anything. But Tony was such a champion, both personally and of how it is to movies, that I think might well have been a very persuasive proponent of let's throw extra money at the score.
Okay. Usually, the music budget is been bitten into because of the overages of the budget during production. So that's great. I mean, I think Tony, as you know, was remarkable in understanding the value of music and movies.
Yeah.
And of course, without him, I would never have gotten on board. He that brought to Clive's attention when he went to represent New World Pictures, that Chris is the guy that probably should be doing this, not Coyle, who are an industrial band for sure, but had never scored a movie before. So definitely, I owe so much of my life and the way things turned around to Tony, and it was just a remarkable blessing that this connection made. But Tony always had an ear for music. He always knew that music was critical to the success of a movie, especially if it's a low budget movie. But when I first started working for New World, that was my thing, is he'd give me these super low budget and say, listen, try to create the illusion that this picture has a higher budget actually does. And so the money would be put into an orchestra, and I tried my best. And I did I think 3 pictures prior to doing it. It was my trial by fire. And once I proved myself to Tony, it was like, okay, I go overseas and tell Clive, give this guy a shot.
Chris, could you turn the volume down just a little bit more? We think it might be coming off your feed, the echoing.
Is that better? Chris, you're asking, or me?
Chris, if you could turn down your speaker volume just a little bit more.
Still more. I can't even hear anybody anymore.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think you should get headphones.
If you can hear.
Is this better, or?
Let's see. How do we sound? Do we sound good, guys?
Lock on.
There's still a bit of echo.
Yeah.
But not as much.
Yep. Ringo.
And Cody, could I just contextualize?
Put the headphones.
Yeah.
There seems to also be a bit of distortion.
Yeah.
Here we go. This might help. Hello, Chris.
Your default speaker has changed to
It's just frog in me fucking throat, love. I'm in me sick.
Yeah, it's good.
I can't help it.
What's the matter with you, mate?
Thank you, Matthew.
What's the matter?
What I was going to say was just to contextualize for viewers who might know this, when Chris is referring to Tony weirdly, possibly uniquely, made this move in the industry from suit, from executive behind the desk to filmmaker. And he had been an executive at New World for several years. He was hired by Roger Corman. His first employer was Roger Corman, which I always think is fantastic.
Didn't he start out in fact in the post room?
That's my hand.
Yeah, visual effects. He worked with Galen Hurd and Jim Cameron in New World's. Well, it wasn't just post. I don't know. I'll get him on the phone if you like. We'll.
But he started way back in the Corman days.
Yeah,
I think.
Tony, not with Corman. I don't think so.
Godzilla '85.
Shit, that was Corman.
And then, but he stayed with New World after Corman sold it, and he was the commissioning executive. And as Chris says, he gave Chris several gigs on movies, and was then the supervising exec on Hellraiser. And I guess Chris and Clive were pleased enough with him not being an asshole exec. Fuck it, let's let the guy direct the sequel, which of course is what he'd always wanted to do. He wasn't an executive who saw the light and became a director. He was a guy who wanted to be a director behind the desks. But
Speaking of James Cameron, of course, William Hope that we have here, he was in James Cameron's Aliens as Lieutenant Gorman.
Sure.
Of course. I went up for that film.
I went up for that film too.
Get it.
No, me
Did
neither.
you go up for it too? I didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. See, we're learning everything new here.
I'm sorry, can't you see me as a lady Marine? I'm just like casting.
Not immediately, no.
I think it was the fishnet tights and the pink stilettos that killed it for me. But I did, when I went to the casting, but I did have a blue belt in Kung Fu, and I could saber fence. I was pretty fit back in those days. So, but then she started talking, we have to send all the actors to boot camp. And I went, No, but yes, William Hope was.
That's
go back to William.
Method, isn't it? Jesus.
William Hope used to live around the corner from where I used to work for many years. And I used to see him in the street about once every couple of months. It's like thinking, I know you from somewhere, but I can't think where I know you from. Because he didn't recognize me.
Well, of course, actually getting back to the film, at least I didn't interact with that many human characters. You know, I don't think I'm not even sure I even met William during filming. Probably saw Ashley, but of course, Ken Cranham, the first time I met him, I was in full makeup, and I came into the dressing room, and he was in full Channer Cenobite makeup on the phone to his wife. I thought I would introduce myself, and I went, "Oh, hi, Ken. My name's Barbie. Why don't we get married and have babies called Pepper and Skipper?" Heidi, you'll get that reference, right?
Yes.
Not. There's no Barbie doll in England. It's Cindy, and there are no Peppers or Skippers. So he just thought it was this. And he said, "It's okay, darling. I'm speaking to some actress. I'll
He's just proposed to me.
Right.
Again, making sort of sadly a fool of myself. But anyway, we are friends now. But he was just like, huh? In full Channer makeup, which is quite funny. But I mean, he again, the watching these scenes with Claire and with Ken. I mean, they are, really, they have actors of such gravitas and stuff like that. Not that we aren't, but it's just wonderful seeing Claire with that blue dress.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Her makeup. This makeup is amazing, isn't it? Her makeup is.
Yeah.
It's very interesting watching it in 4K as well, because suddenly you can see all the male actors' makeup, like ordinary makeup, which you never could see before.
Oh, right.
You're not supposed to.
Yeah.
Well, I must get that. I haven't got it here, but I've got. This is just the original DVD, and it's all quite a bit soft. But I actually find it a bit disconcerting. The sort of 4K intimate. I can see every sort of pimple and so it's oh no, William's getting the life sucked out of him. Oopsie.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, and I feel the same way about Blu-ray. I'm not a fan at all. I think it just I feel with Blu-ray like it just digitally lightens the image, and you see all kinds of stuff. I mean, but particularly around prosthetic makeup. DP spend an awful lot of time getting broken light and shadows and smoke, and they do it for a reason. And Blu-ray kind of blows it all away. And you see all kinds of shit you were never intended to, and it's not very kind on prosthetic makeup, I don't think.
And hello, everybody. Just wanted to welcome anybody that's new watching our live stream right now. We are doing our Hellraiser 2 Hellbound watch party right now. I keep reversing those titles. Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. We're watching this right now with composer Christopher Young, actors Nicholas Vince, Simon Bamford, Barbie Wilde, and Doug Bradley. We also have with us the writer Peter Atkins and Saturday Night Live's Heidi Gardner. we're doing this live stream in benefit of the Frida Cinema. It's our home base of operations when we do events. It's a nonprofit art house cinema. Please consider giving to the Frida Cinema today. You can find a link in the info section down below, and you'll be able to help keep the Frida afloat during these dark times. But without further ado, back to the people you want to hear from. Sorry about that little interruption, guys.
Hey, no, that's okay.
We did have
I think we're just about to start at some point that the Cenobites are going to come in.
The big reveal.
I'm behind you. I'm behind you.
I just saw a message go up the screen saying, I love Chris's hat, Heidi's shirt.
What's that?
Love my shirt too.
I like my hat.
What about my
wearing
little
this because my hair, I
skeleton?
haven't cut it. It's gotten so long.
Oh, wow.
Okay, just
so jealous, Chris.
Okay, guys, can you just tell
hair.
me? I now have Channard and Julia looking at each other. They've just seen Tiffany playing with the box through the mirror.
You're miles
when you
ahead
get
of
there,
us.
No, you're way
You're
ahead.
way ahead of us.
Photograph of me.
Pause, Bobby. Pause.
Okay. Tell me when you get to that bit.
Yeah, that's great.
If you pause, yours, Bobby.
You know, Bobby, no pause button.
We have a couple of people asking, what country does Hellraiser 1 and 2 take place in?
It takes place in the imagination.
It happens in America, England.
Good.
Sorry. Why they wanted to dub Mel Gibson from the first Mad Max film, because his Australian accent was too strong. I mean, it's just, the thing is that it's very confusing. The policemen are American, and then you've got a few English people, and then Andy Robinson, of course, is American. And it's just it's a very confusing mid-Atlantic place.
Well, the answer is the movie was written to take place in London, as the Hellbound Heart took place in London, and when filming started, it was taking place in London. You may be closer to the skinny on this, Pete, than I, but my assumption, or what I understand, is that New World made the decision while we were still filming Hellraiser that they wanted a sequel, and that sequel was going to start as soon as Hellraiser finished in real time, as it were, and it was going to take place in America. So there was suddenly an awful lot of backfilling to make sense of a script that was written to take place in London, now take place in America. Am I?
Yeah.
How many marks out of 10 do I get from my?
No, I think that's exactly right. I'm not sure of the exact timeline. I thought it was during post-production that they thought they liked the movie, and they thought, oh, this might actually do better than we had originally thought it would. But they dubbed a lot of the secondary roles during post-production. I don't think they ever said. By the time Chris Figg hired me to write the second one, it was assumed that it's kind of taking place in an America that wasn't quite fully present in the first movie, but they'll throw a few dubbed accents in. You know, it's one of the reasons we gave, one of the reasons Officer Kusich is so fucking trigger happy in that first scene with the corpse was just like, let's make it clear that these are American cops.
No, they want to kill everybody. Ooh.
Yeah, right. But of course, the thing is, Hellbound also was filmed in England, in Pinewood Studios, the cast primarily English. So we were still faking it to some extent, but it was not a post-event fake the way the dubbing was for the first one.
So you get great anomalies, like so Kirsty's boyfriend was dubbed with an American accent, and she's saying to him, I was warned about you British guys, right. Especially you British guys with American accents.
Yes.
And also I've always said that none of Julia's victims were dubbed with American accents, which leaves you with Julia with this very very precise piece of perversion,
Cool.
that she not only goes out in this unnamed American city and trawls the bars to find follically challenged businessmen to bring home to beat their brains out to feed to her beloved under the floorboards, but she specifically trawls the bars of this American city for follically challenged English businessmen to bring back home.
That's because they're more delicious.
For an American market, that makes it okay.
I have Tiffany about to open the box, by the way, chaps.
Yeah.
We're on.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm there now. I up, and it's coming up.
You got your box, Barbie?
Where I am. Are we roughly in the same place?
Well, there we go. Let's see.
I don't know.
Julia, looking.
Must be the 80s, folks, because we're hitting the blue light.
Oh, yes.
So the box isn't opened yet, right?
No, she's just
close up on Tiffany's eyes. I have.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm pretty much in the same place.
There we go.
Curtains
blowing, blue lights everywhere.
You guys
close up of eyes.
Dum 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 dum. I wish I could hear music.
Of course, shout out to Imogen Borman. Wonderful. She's doing a great character here. Hello, Imogen, if you're watching at home.
Hey, Imogen.
I remember them saying when the walls opened, move forward, and neither of us could see when the walls had opened, could we, Nick?
No. And there was also the moment, because they had such powerful lights on us, that they moved me because I was smoldering.
Huge, and the massive Ritter fans behind us as well. So you couldn't hear a word of instruction.
Yeah.
All the useful little things like action.
Yeah.
Massive Ritter fans? Are they fat John Ritter groupies? What are you talking about?
Enormous.
Yeah, I know.
Big fan.
Boom. Here we go. It's the lads, ladette.
The boys are back in town. And the girl.
You say you just want to hear all Christopher's wonderful score.
Sure. Oh yeah, this is a great sequence and great score here.
I've got it on low.
Got it loud.
Is that when you guys first enter?
Yeah.
It's like the entrance of the biggest rock band ever.
Here we go.
Okay.
Oh, you're doing pretty well, Nick. You're walking this straight line.
Walking, unable to see. Yeah.
Oh,
walk. That's mostly what I did in these movies.
Yeah. Just tell me where to stop.
He was 3 counties over before anyone caught up with him.
There he comes.
Ooh. Barbie sharpening her knives.
Wow.
We're all like 4 seconds apart in one direction.
Yes. But it's not, we're all being lit up by ourselves, which is kind of interesting.
Oh, but it is wonderful score.
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear?
And the choir and the...
Oh, there's a lot of elements that are, I mean, Chris's score is magnificent and iconic, but Mike Buchanan's production design and Robin's lighting of all this stuff, I mean, it's really...
Yes.
Yeah.
There's some first-rate guys working here.
Mm.
As well as all the first-rate people in front of the camera, of course.
I'll pay you the $5 later, Peter.
And I was going to ask,
describe with the inky fingers.
We'll be fine.
Who was in charge of who created all of the artifacts in Chenard's study? There was all those newspaper clippings and all of his puzzle boxes and stuff.
Well, technically, Mike Buchanan, who's the production designer, would be what they call the key or the head of that whole thing. But obviously, there's a whole art department. I don't think Mike was personally making them, but he would certainly supervise the look of it. I mean, you know, so the various elements matched. And
did Steve Hardy work on Hellbound, Pete?
Yes, the reason Doug's mentioned him is Steve Hardy was production designer on Nightbreed and on Hellraiser 3. I think Steve might have been on both Hellraiser and Hellbound, Doug.
Yeah.
But I think he was just working for Bob Keane. I think. I might not be remembering.
Right, that sounds familiar.
Does that ring a bell, Nick? You think?
Yeah, it rings a bell.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a drawing on the wall. That looks like one of Clive's, maybe? Is that possible? In Shannon's office? I'm probably behind you.
I've already gone past that bit.
Oh.
I don't know. Did it have a lot of cocks in it? Because then it's probably not. Other than that.
I noticed that earlier, but sorry.
Oh no, I read Books of Blood, and there's a lot of cocks in that.
You know,
not every other page.
You know, Heidi, Doug, Clive, and I have all known each other for 48 years or something. And but the one time Clive got all sniffy and offended was one of Doug's best fucking jokes.
It was.
Yeah, well, I'm being complimentary. It was a joke. They were on a panel, and Clive got off on a tangent about his various pets because he had quite a menagerie at his home at the time, and he was talking about his latest exotic bird, which was a cockatoo. And he turned to Doug, a cockatiel. I'm so sorry.
A cockatiel, yes.
It was a cockatiel. And he turned to Doug and said, "Oh, Doug, you haven't met him, have you? You didn't know I had a cockatiel." And Doug said, without missing a beat,
"I always knew you were partial to a cockatoo."
Hey,
they
didn't like that?
Doug's available for SNL, you know, Heidi, if they want to season.
Okay, that's good to know.
We'll rock for food, you know.
I think we're back on again, guys. If I'm in the wrong position, or now I'm ahead of you.
I've got Tiffany.
Bobby's actually watching the movie.
I thought we were supposed to be watching the movie.
Yeah.
I love. Just as a starting point.
And of course, no CGI back then. It was a lot of masterful set work, making it look like an endless labyrinth, wasn't it?
Oh, cool.
Oh yeah, I think there were only. Well, you guys would remember better than me. There were 2 corridors only. We had one long one and one short one, and they just moved the cameras around to make it look like there were 17.
But the labyrinth is painting on glass. It's the original.
Oh yeah,
matte painting.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
This was
and the animation too, which is an extraordinary feature in this film, I think.
Sure.
All those weird images.
But, I mean, was it not Bob Keane's guys who were affectionately dubbed the movie Setbound?
Yeah,
owing to budgetary restraints because of what was it, Black Monday or
Tuesday? Black Tuesday,
Purple Thursday or something.
Yeah,
a financial crash, which, if I'm right, happened just as they were transferring the budget from LA to London, and the chain movement in the exchange rates wiped like a third off the budget or something.
The budget out, yeah.
Enough. They were postponing, were they not?
Yeah.
Well, they might have thought about it briefly, but we would have been in terrible trouble if we had, because you got booked on stages and somebody's got them booked after you. So no, there was no actual delay, and they went ahead. But yeah, the budget was in effect sliced by a third. It was my first movie. I was still doing we were pretty locked, but I was doing a production draft polish when this happened. And I freaked out and said, Jesus Christ, what have I got to strip out of this script? And Tony, again, because of his experience, just having been in the business for 10 or 12 years, said, you relax. You write the movie. We keep writing the movie we want to make. I'll just shoot things in 2 days that we were going to take 3 days for. And I thought, well, that's very calming, and he's a lovely fellow. But Image Animation had a slightly different take on that, which was, oh, so we'll be working 16-hour fucking days instead. But they loved him. They loved him.
What's the longest you guys went in makeup? Like 10, 12 hours?
Well, our calls were very early.
Mm-hmm.
What was yours?
I would say at least, I remember getting out, we had to be there at least 5 or 6 in the morning. And didn't we get we went until at least like 10 o'clock at night or something like that? Is that?
Well, my memory with Hellbound was of a constant process of getting up at 3:30 to be picked up and get in makeup, because we were always being assured, we need you first shot tomorrow, so we need you finished in makeup by 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, which we always were. And then we'd get on set around 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And we'd sat around 7 or 8 hours doing nothing. I think my longest day was on Hellraiser 3. I think I pulled an 18-hour day in makeup on Hellraiser 3. Hellbound, they did pull that stunt where we finished around 10, 11 o'clock at night, and then informed us we were back in at 4, 5, 6 o'clock or something.
Yeah, the next day.
Yeah. I was saying, is that an equity rule?
Didn't we?
Say again, Doug?
I slept at yours that night. I didn't go home.
You didn't? I think we stayed over at Jeff and Roy, didn't we?
Oh, did we?
Yeah, it was Jeff and Roy because they were over at Twickenham. We stayed.
The thing is that when they call, okay, cut, come back, is that at least, I don't know how long it took for you to get out of your makeup, Doug, but it took me an hour to get out of makeup.
About the same.
And it's not just prosthetics you guys are in. Like, that looks like also a lot of leather and...
We were all quite used to wearing the leather. That wasn't so bad.
I got an extra day's pay out of that though too, so it wasn't all bad.
Yeah.
I spoke to my agent about it, who spoke to Equity and said, well, they're going to pay you or we'll shut down production because they cannot do that.
Yeah.
By the time I got and you were like our spokesman, you were like lead Cenobite spokesman for the union.
Yeah. Well, I think I had one time.
Power to the Cenobites.
There was my turnaround time by the time I got home, and then the time I had to get up, it was 4 hours. And that's
I think if I estimated by the time I got home, I would have been getting up to clean my teeth again 3 hours later. So,
Chris, you were asking about the costumes?
I was just asking about, those costumes must be worth a fortune. Your Cenobite costumes, where did they go?
They're in private collectors' hands. We've seen them. We saw them.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they still exist.
I've seen yours, Nick. I've never seen mine. I've seen yours.
Oh, okay.
Because the story I was told, because we wore the same costumes in Hellbound that we wore in Hellraiser, and then when it came to Hellraiser 3, I suddenly didn't have a costume. The story I was told, which is clearly bullshit because we've subsequently... is yours in existence as well, Simon? Certainly saw...
Collector.
That they'd been thrown into a corner of Bob Keene's workshop and mice had nested in them. So they were deemed unfit for actally consumption and had been pitched in a dumpster, which clearly isn't true because the original Chatter and Butterball costumes are in existence and in a private collection, but I've never seen or heard any whisper of what happened to Pinhead's costume.
So
or mine.
First to the
there was
second.
a whole new costume made for the third film, and they were never as good as Jane we
If
do
you
need
use
to
the same costume,
Jane Wildgoose, who designed and made the Cenobite costumes. They were a pig to wear, but they never looked as good. I mean, they were just brilliant.
Jane Wildgoose, who Doug just mentioned, who's originally Jane Woodward when we first met her, Doug.
Yes.
And she goes way back with us. Doug and I, for people who don't know this, again, with Clive, we're all in a theatre company together since the mid-70s, because we're that fucking old. And she, I don't think was ever officially part of the Dog Company, which was the theatre company we had. But she was part of the, I don't know, greater Dog Company.
Well, Clive had met her and was very enthusiastic about her, because she was her carpet in her apartment in Crouch End at the time, or her flat, sorry, I should say, was fake grass, that greengrocers used to lay their apples and oranges out on. That was her carpeting. And she had model aeroplanes hanging from the wall, and silhouettes of rats climbing up the walls. So she came in first, I think, to design and make costumes for Dog. I think that was the first time she worked with us.
Was it really? Okay.
Yeah, yes, because she made Sugarman's costume.
The fat.
And then she certainly worked on Paradise Street as well.
Sure, yeah. I didn't remember Dog. Yeah, this is like 1976 we're talking about it. Well, 77, I guess, if it was old man.
Yeah.
It was a while ago. But anyway, she made the
and the History of the Devil as well. She also did the costumes on the History of the Devil.
Yeah, right.
And it was a lady called Rosemary Sylvester Fisher who also made the costumes for Hellraiser and Hellbound. Actually did the construction of the costumes.
Yeah. And it was an important thing that Clive did on Hellraiser, which was that Jane was her own head of department. She wasn't the Cenobite costumes were not part of the wardrobe department or the wardrobe budget, and they weren't part of the special effects department or budget. She was her own department, entire unto herself, and that was the one thing that she had to do was focus on getting the Cenobite costumes right, which she did to perfection. But the advantage for me with the later costumes was simply that I could take the jacket off between shots.
Right.
Whereas with the original Cenobite costumes, certainly for me, once I was in the thing, I was kind of, in it. Bathroom visits were not to be encouraged.
Right.
Well, at least you guys wore skirts. I had the trousers on, so I had more layers.
Well, yes.
So you couldn't pee in your costume?
Oh no, he peed in his costume.
No.
That's the Cenobite's dirty little secret. They were just peeing.
That didn't come out right.
It depends, darling. No, no. Yes, I could, but it meant hitching up an awful lot of skirtage, and and rummaging through a leotard, and
But at least you could see where the bowl and the bowl was. I had to have somebody guide me because I was blind.
Somebody changed the subject.
But this is all getting interesting.
Before Simon tells us who that was.
How much you can get to one of those costumes.
Doug, since you went way back with Clive, did you always know that you were going to be Pinhead? Like, was that role promised to you?
When I was 3, well, pretty much, yes. I mean, I certainly did an audition for it. It was always there. I mean, I had lots of conversations with him, walking conversations, which you always had walking conversations with Clive back in the day. So yes, it was pretty much always there, I think.
Wow. Dream role.
I didn't know.
Simon and I always swear that when Clive offered us parts in Hellraiser, Clive said there is some makeup involved.
Yeah. A little bit of makeup.
Just a little bit of makeup.
Yeah, did you guys have any idea how you would look? No. Yeah.
Well, I'd seen drawings. I'd seen Clive's drawings. That was it, really. And I saw more detailed drawings when I went to meet Jeff Portas, who designed and constructed and applied the Pinhead's makeup. He was my makeup artist. So when I went to Shepperton Studios to have the live cast done, that was the first time I saw a more detailed makeup artist's representation of what the makeup was going to look like. Though even then, at that point when I went for the live cast, there were two versions being discussed. The other one was a much looser, more tribal kind of look with, with the things in the ears and piercings through the nose and stuff like that. But I think it was always clear that Clive was going to come back to that very ordered, rigid, gridiron, controlled pattern, and that image of calm, received pain, which is what Pinhead presents. I've always said, it's that kind of implied threat. Look what I did to myself. Now imagine what I can do to you.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's true for all of us. Each of our characters had our own kind of pain that we put ourselves through, that we'd all kind of tortured ourselves or mutilated ourselves. And of course, it was back in the days before piercings were so enormous. Nobody really pierced those days, so it was more shocking back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think for me, Doug put it quite wonderfully when he said, I sort of paraphrase you or whatever, as he said, when you first saw yourself in full makeup in the mirror, it almost informed your character because it's such a powerful look. But back in 1988, I had enormous hair because that's what you had in the 80s. And,
me too.
And I was a TV presenter at the same time. I was reviewing movies, and then all of a sudden, gone were the shoulder pads, and gone was my hair. And it was like, where's me when I looked in the mirror? And then it was this very powerful image. And of course, the unmistakable dubious wound in my throat, which is, you can't really get away from that too. But it was very powerful. It was a wonderful, to be turned into such a powerful looking creature was a wonderful revelation as well. I mean, I kind of knew what I would look like because of what Grace Kirby's makeup was, but they had to make some alterations, obviously, because I didn't have her cheekbones and I didn't have her long neck. So they had to sort of truncate things and change the throat jewelry. But it was an interesting experience. But I actually almost felt a little bit upset. Where's my hair? Where's my 80s hair? But, so then you said, come up, no, this is wonderful. This is powerful. This is fantastic. Yeah. So
it's quite liberating when you wear a makeup and you look in the mirror and you don't actually see yourself, because you're not judging your performance. You're not judging yourself. You can actually look way beyond that.
You discussed that in your book, right, Doug?
I find it very easy to watch myself as Pinhead, much more than I do to watch myself as me on screen, for precisely that reason. Because that, it's the holiday photographs, the wedding photographs. Oh, that's a lovely one of you. Oh God, do you think so? Oh, look horrible. Look at my nose. Look at me. But that's all taken away from you when you're looking at yourself in synthetic makeup. It's not an issue.
Well, we were beautiful, depraved creatures seeking sensuality. I know, but there is a sort of depraved beauty to all of our makeup designs, a sensual, thing. That's why these monsters that Clive created are such one of a kind. They were a new kind of monster that no one had ever seen before, and what they were seeking wasn't just blood and guts; it was something else, and that was something no one had ever seen before. So as far as I know, I mean. I can't really think of a movie that had a similar feeling to it.
No. I've always said, I think Hellraiser it does stand out in that it really isn't dating. There's a lot of big hair and shoulder pads around with Julia that anchors us in the late 80s, early 90s, I think. But I've always said two reasons principally, and one is Chris's score that lifts a low budget horror movie onto a whole other level. It's Requiem mass level. And the other is the Cenobites, the look of the Cenobites. They are completely out of time, and I've always said you could show an image of the Cenobites to a 14th century monk, and he'd understand exactly what he's looking at. And that's entirely down to Clive and the murky recesses of his wonderful imagination that could conjure up those creatures.
Exactly. I mean, I'm looking at the scene now. We're in the chain room. And do you remember, Doug? I'm sure you remember that one of the chains actually knocked off one of your pins.
Well, it was because we rehearsed the shot. All the chains are hanging down from the rig, and we rehearsed. So I remember tracking a path. I can skirt round that chain, and that brings me into this gap, and then I can get through that gap and come across here. Great. I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going. They didn't tell us that they were then going to rock the whole of the rig from side to side. So they called action. Now all the chains are swinging in a curtain in front of me. So the chain I was making for is suddenly moved over here somewhere. And yeah, I did get snagged on a chain.
And they were real iron anchor chains. They were metal.
On a chain. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, they were real iron metal chains. I mean, they weren't plastic or anything. They were heavy buggers. So you're lucky the pin didn't go in instead of off.
Yes. Well.
And hello, everybody. If you're just tuning in right now, we are doing our Hellbound Hellraiser 2 watch party right now. We have with us the composer, Christopher Young, the writer, Peter Atkins, actors, Doug Bradley, Barbie Wilde, Simon Bamford, and Nicholas Vince. Thank you for joining us. We're doing some chat about Hellraiser and Hellraiser 2 right now. If you would be kind enough, we are currently raising donations for the Frida Cinema. It's our home venue. We did a great double feature screening of Hellraiser 2 and 1 back for the 30th anniversary in 2018. You can follow the link down in the info section, and you can help keep the Frida Cinema afloat during these dark times. They're a great nonprofit organization. You won't find better programming anywhere. We had, let's get into the weeds a little bit. We had one question. Well, one was saying, why is Nicholas Vince so handsome? Another question we had was, is
moisturizer and good light in this
that one in.
It's the Vaseline on the lens.
Oh, no, you guys have all aged like great, delicious, fine wine. In fact, I'm not even going to open the bottle of wine yet. I'm going to keep it going for a couple more years. We had one question asking, do you guys see this as a Hellraiser as the perfect parable to the 80s AIDS epidemic?
No.
You're serious?
No.
There's your answer. Whoever asked that question.
What was a thinker?
I don't know about a perfect parable.
Sensuality kills? Sensuality kills? Is that... No, I don't get it. No.
That might be it, but you might have answered their question right there. So thank you.
It's worth looking at Nightbreed more closely if you're looking at what's really going on. Because actually Nightbreed was more happening in the UK when the whole AIDS epidemic was hitting and laws were passed in this country against homosexuality and so on, as a response to AIDS. So perhaps have a look more closely at Nightbreed and people who are pushed outside and the other monsters.
Oh, I've never seen that in Nightbreed. I suppose you can see elements in the Hellraiser story of I suppose Frank embodies unbridled licentiousness, but that's not what AIDS was related to in any way, shape, or form. I mean, that was that became an agenda that was thrown particularly at the gay community, but it was not really relevant. I've never really thought about it. I mean, I've always seen Hellraiser as fundamentally Faustus reimagined. When Faustus reaches that point where he knows everything, but he hasn't found what he's looking for, and he wants the thing beyond, the thing beyond, the thing beyond, always the thing beyond. And so Pinhead and the Cenobites are stand instead for Mephistopheles, who turns up to Faustus and says, yeah, we can give you what you want. There'll be a price to pay, but we can give you that.
Now, I must say, I don't really see, I think what Doug said was very pointed and good. I don't really see the connection between, I mean, it's all fine to say that in retrospect, but I don't think you can say it's any sort of deep meaning behind the whole AIDS thing that happened.
Right now in the film, I think we're at where the Trinard is going to be attacking the Cenobites, and we get to see their human forms. Nicholas, you got to work on Hellraiser anthology too, where you got to write about your character. Could you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, sure. I think basically, I think Barbie possibly felt the same. I don't know about Simon as well. That moment when we read the script, we knew that we were going to turn back into humans, but discovered we weren't going to be playing the human part of ourselves. So, it's like, Pete, what are you doing? Oh, what do you mean he's a little boy? But I want to play when he's, you mean I've gone through all this? This is why I was screaming out earlier on. It's my hand. It's not Kenneth Cranham's hand when he's feeling Julia's bum. It's my hand. It's the only bit of me that's in this movie.
Watch for Pinhead's disappearing collar coming up soon as well.
Oh yes, the disappearing collar. The collar. Yeah, so I think basically for years it was like, and then the more I thought about it, the whole idea of a boy who grows up in hell became more and more fascinating to me, or someone who looks like a boy grows up in hell, and what quite why he was there, and so on. So if you hadn't read it, I'm going to be republishing it later this. Yeah, is it there? I am. There I am.
Yeah, I've actually also written 3 female Cenobite stories, as she gets in her little plug, called Sister Celise, and basically she was a nun. My little sort of.
So yeah, so that is the famous moment where I got a 12-inch rusty hook into the roof of my mouth during the filming of that sequence as well. So that was all fun and games.
Is that during Hellbound?
Yeah, you went on. Yeah, that's when I got 12-inch rusty. Yeah.
And Barbie, where can we find your stories?
They're in my collection called Voices of the Damned, published by SST Publications. The first story, Sister Celise, is also in the Hellbound Hearts anthology, which also features a story by Nick. Your story is called?
Demon's Design.
Yeah, and that's, it's not an origin story, but it's a story based on...
The origin story is going to be
Hellbound Heart.
Republished later this year in a book called Prayers of Desire. So I'm republishing it later this year.
But no, it's sort of interesting. I mean, somebody asked me Paul Kane, who wrote the wonderful film. If you love the Hellraiser films, you should get Hellraiser Films and Their Legacy by Paul Kane. And he was the one who got me started writing in horror, because he asked me to contribute to the Hellbound Hearts anthology. And then subsequently I did some other stories. But thank you, Paul, because it's a beautiful book. And I think we all were interviewed for it, weren't we, guys? Simon,
For what?
Nick?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm watching a movie.
Yes, sorry,
Yeah.
drifting and watching the
Well,
movie.
the Hellraiser films and their legacy has an outstanding foreword by Doug Bradley. That's all I have.
Simon, read it again.
Actually, sorry, whilst you're there, Pete, why did you change him into a boy? Why did you change Chatterer into
Just
a
to
boy?
piss you off.
It's malice. Pure malice.
Well, I got turned
Because
into
I think we'd been getting drunk at Madame Jojo's the night before, and you didn't sit around. So I thought I'll fucking show him. No, actually, to be honest, I had no assumption that you guys would not be the people. Just like Doug, we saw Doug's face later. We learned it was Elliot Spencer in number 3. In the first draft, you were simply revealed as humans, and I just assumed it would be the guys who had been in the makeup. And then, but unfortunately, specifically, I think it might have been Chris Figg's note in between the first draft and the second draft. He said one of them should be a kid. It might have been Clive who said that, but I think it was Chris. Said one of them should be a kid. And all I can say, Nick, is I hadn't met you at the time, so there was no direct personal intent. But that one, the chattering fucking kid. But I apologize profusely. I prefer your origin story. So, you know, in the canon as it has grown over the years, I think your backstory for Chatterer is more appropriate.
Thank you very much.
That's
Pete.
suitably politic.
And we did have some fun times at Madame Jojo's.
Oh God! That
was
was
brilliant. Loved it.
We had that little Barbie and Nick and Bobby and our friend Neil Gaiman and I were like this little gang of 5 that we were so young that we could manage it. We would have these long days on Nightbreed and then go out to this drag act cabaret club, Madame Jojo's, till like 2-3 in the fucking morning, and then we'd be back at fine days.
Yeah.
I think we're coming to the exciting denouement, right?
Yeah, I just saw the black light.
Oh yeah.
I like this. And Chris, you had that's Morse code that Leviathan's playing.
Right. Sure. This is the Leviathan portion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The twisting dark diamond. Yeah, that was I remember that was I was always kind of uncomfortable with being, as I still am, films that sort of glorify all that is evil. Maybe it's because I sang in the church choir when I was a kid, and just was always sort of not completely at ease with being immersed in horror. So I decided at that moment that this was just like a way to pacify this issue I was having by using, because I decided that the sound for the Leviathan was going to be a bunch of low, short and long low notes, blah, 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 sort of like vomiting low pitch sounds. And I think what a better way not to use short and long in Morse code to spell out something. So indeed, I think I spelled out in Morse code God, as I recall. But I don't think you can hear it very well because it's buried under sound design, but lo and behold, yes, it is. And I wish I could remember exactly what Morse code for God is right now. I
was going to be.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
And this relates.
All those
back
underground hell things were just great moments visually, and what an awesome opportunity for music to go off the deep end. And that was back in the days when I was walling out stuff, making these like insane walls of sound with music and whatever I could find. It was sort of the Phil Spector approach to film scoring, and it sounded great on the stage, but at the end of the day, I think Tony had to yank some of it out to make space for the sound design stuff. So, but that and I think that's one of my favorite scenes. And again, the one in which Tiffany runs into the Hall of Mirrors, the underground. I don't know if we've done that one yet. Is that what we've already seen? That was a great finish. How can you not have fun writing music for a carnival in hell? You know? That was fun. But you don't really hear the music. I mean, I think Tony was wait a second, man, this is too much, and so it was thinned out. But a great moment, and there you had God, right? God in Morse code.
That's brilliant. This relates back to what we were talking about in relation to the cut in the budget, and it's kind of a question for Pete. Am I right in thinking that originally we would have journeyed much further into hell and encountering Leviathan and the heart? Am I misremembering a machine creating and spitting out Cenobites?
Yeah, by the score. Yeah, I mean, even before the budget cut, I don't know if that would ever stayed in and been approved.
Right.
It got fairly
easy
ambitious.
to write.
We did at least 6 of the 7 circles of hell, right? We worked our way down. Hi Virgil, hi Dante, and but yeah, there was a machine. Yeah, there was like a Cenobite maker. It was like like a spiralizer. You put the zucchini in and the other end. So that did, and probably it's better to concentrate on you guys. Less is more.
That's it. I mean, you get too many Cenobites, it gets a bit less frightening, doesn't it? They're sort of,
boils the broth, love.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Hear you guys tell all your wonderful stories about your time in England when you were shooting the film that's in a tiny little apartment in Los Angeles. I hadn't even met you guys. Did I go? I never went on the set, Peter. I don't think so. I know I didn't go overseas. I met him in New York City. Right, we met at his apartment. He was staying at a room right off of Central Park West. We met once. I went to LA. He goes back to England to finish up on Hellraiser. We talked over the phone, and I played him stuff on the phone, long distance. But even in Hellbound, I think they flew me over. We had one meeting, and that was it. And then from that moment on, I was kind of on my own. I so wish I'd been a part of what you guys were experiencing there together, because I hear you guys going off, and you remember this, you remember that, and crap. I remember that alone in the room, all that, and post-production. You guys were already gone when I came on board. What was that, Peter?
Well, I was going to say you were with us at Pinewood for a few days, because that's when you and I first met, and I treasure the fact we did, and I'm glad we did, and we had a lot of musical tastes and movie tastes in common. Right. But I was also witness to you. This is a great little. You pretended to be angry. People who were watching, when they put an assembly together of a movie, the director or the producers will often put what they call temp tracks on for music.
Oh, yes.
And give a composer the idea of the feel they might want for a scene. And Chris, like all professionals, was very calm and composed about it, until at one point, I don't know, Tony had used as a temp track some of Toto's score for Dune, and for whatever reason, Chris and Tony had known each other a while, so they could break each other's balls. Chris decided to pretend he was mad about it. I was like, what? Toto, you know what, Tony? I've got Steve Page's fucking phone number right here. I can call him now.
Was I joking?
Do you remember this?
No, I haven't. That was bad.
You must have been drunk.
Bad. I'm so sorry.
No, it was hilarious.
Bad.
I've got his number right here. Why don't you call him?
So I wasn't saying it with a sort of a smile on my face. No, that was for real.
No, it was
Yes.
really, it was good humored enough, but Tony
I
got the
was back in the days when I was too hot in my head, way
Not
too
at all.
passionate,
Not
and
at all.
things have changed.
I remember you had a crush on.
Now, if he'd said, "I've got David Page's phone number here. Would you like to collaborate with him?" I go, "Better believe I'd like to collaborate with him. Let's get him here." Yeah. So you remember that? I have no memory of that.
I might be making it up.
Shit, I think I blocked it out, man. Anyway.
That's
Not a
Ollie.
bad story.
Yes.
Yes, Oliver Parker.
Reprising his role as mattress delivery man.
Is that Mark Addy?
No, it's Oliver Smith. Oliver.
Yeah, but the other guy.
Ollie Parker.
I think it was.
Oh no, Mark Adams.
Oh,
No.
there. Right.
No, he's too old to be Mark Addy, but he looked like him. And here is Pinhead in the Pillar of Souls, but it's not Doug. Do we know who it is?
Well, I do. But...
Who is it, Pete?
Who is it?
I think it is Jeffrey Portas, is it not?
It is Jeff. Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
I'm only getting.
And there's your Cox.
There's your Cox.
Yes. On
And that's Little John.
The skeletons, the Cox. It's just like, yeah, that's just wrong. Wrong.
Did you write this, Pete?
What your pleasure, sir.
That's Little John.
And then New World went bankrupt.
Hellbound Hellraiser 2, everybody. Wow, guys, you
That's
guys were amazing.
showbiz.
That's Hellraiser 2. Wow, what can I say?
Are you going
Thank
to tell them why the female Cenobite is still called the female Cenobite here, Barbie? Now that I've acquired Pinhead and Simon's acquired Butterball.
The story I was, sorry, the story I was told is that if you look at the cast list of the film, it's lead Cenobite, chattering Cenobite, fat Cenobite, female Cenobite. By the time the second film came along, they'd given them the names that the makeup crew had coined, i.e. Pinhead, Chatterer, Butterball. But my name was Deep Throat, which was a very notorious porno film from the 70s, was it? So the American producers deemed that too
my mind.
Sorry?
It slipped my mind for the moment exactly when Deep Throat was released.
Been in New York for over a year.
I'll just go and check the DVD cover and I'll let you know.
Check it out.
Wasn't
Yes.
this was released last day, wasn't it? Wasn't
No,
Hellbound
I've got this
released
one
last
picture.
day?
It's from the Hellraiser Chronicles, and which is this beautiful full color book about the Hellraiser films. And there's this one picture of me, and I'm looking very sort of stoic. And for years, I would sort of give it to, fans loved it. And then I suddenly realized, whoa, what's that? And it was a they'd taken a picture of me just before action had been called on my death scene. They glued a bit of Chandler's tentacle on my throat. And it was this cigar thing sticking out of my throat. Can I say the word vagina? Throat? I don't know if is that wrong?
No, go ahead. It's YouTube.
So it's just, I was walking around all day on set with this cigar sticking out of my dubious throat wound, to the merriment of cast and crew, I have to say. And that was the day that my hero, because I was doing film review, Barry Norman came on set. And I always loved he was a famous film reviewer, a TV film reviewer in the UK. And I hid behind some boxes because I didn't want to see. I didn't want my hero to see this cigar coming out. It was so pathetic. Nowadays, I go, "Hi, Barry, how are you doing? Yeah. Where's my book?" But no, it was just a ludicrous situation. Then I remember Jeff Portis screamed, "Barbie, where are you?" And I had to come out sporting my cigar throat thing.
Well,
So,
I see someone on YouTube, Barbie, saying that Dubious Throat Wound is a great name for a band.
Oh, dear. Uh-huh. You know, Bill Hicks is one of my favorite comedians. Just tell me if you want me to stop. But he said, you know, Bill, my mother would say, "Hey, Bill, you still doing that your own," I was too rude to say, joke, you know, using your own given surname. And I just think, gosh, I'm so glad my parents didn't see Hellraiser. They'd gone to their reward by that time, I think. They would have been horrified. Favorite comedian. Just tell me if you want me to stop. But he said, you know, Bill, my mother would say, "Hey, Bill, you
wow.
that."
We finally did it.
Using your
We've reached the space-time continuum.
Cool.
He plays it once. Fantastic.
Where's Captain Jean-Luc Picard? This is the parallel universe they're talking about, chaps.
Selfie.
That was my fault.
I know.
And Doug, it was pretty interesting. A couple of years ago, you did a Pinhead live experience with a Mad Monster Party, I believe.
Yes, in Phoenix. Yeah.
That was amazing. Hopefully we'll get to see that again soon. You know, all of you back on the, we'll get you all back on the convention circuit. You know, we'll all be safe for now. And then one day we'll be really happy to see you again live. As Chris was saying, he lamented not being there on your guys' party nights during filming. Hopefully someday soon, if not the 35th anniversary of Hellraiser, maybe before that, we'll still all be able to get together all in one place and, you know, have a lot of fun together. I really appreciate all of you. Maybe let everybody know where they can find you on social media, starting with Doug.
Oh, I've no fucking idea. I have a Twitter account that I don't use. I only have it to stop people pretending being me. How does Instagram and Facebook work?
Let's see.
Yeah. Social media. How do they get to me?
I don't know what it is.
Official Doug Bradley on Instagram.
Official Doug Bradley on Instagram. And I don't have a fucking clue how you get there on Facebook.
It's just Doug Bradley.
You're on there.
You would just search.
And as was said at the top, sorry, go ahead. A spokesman on my behalf is currently saying,
I have earbuds in. I haven't heard a thing you've been talking about. So
she's watching police cars being destroyed in downtown Pittsburgh.
Which is quite wonderful. You have a fan page on Facebook, which people can find by searching. You have a YouTube channel, don't forget about.
I was about to get to that. Yes.
Which you would just search for your name, and your official Doug Bradley on Instagram. And you have a Twitter, but we don't really put it on.
No.
I don't understand.
We ignore Twitter altogether. Yeah, so I've just started a YouTube channel. Not quite sure what in its totality that will become in the end, but at the moment I'm doing serialized reading of Frankenstein, and part 2 new video will be posted tomorrow evening.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Excellent. Looking very forward to that. How about you, Barbie? Where can we find you?
I'm Barbie.Wild, or just Barbie Wild on Facebook, Barbie Wild author actress on Facebook, and my books, Voice of the Damned and The Venus Complex, have their own pages, which I neglect periodically. On Twitter, I'm just at Barbie Wild. And on Instagram, I'm at Barbie Wild. And I have barbiewild.com, but I totally ignored that. But it's got all my information on there. You can sort of look and see all the broken YouTube links. Sorry. And, you can just, and if you try and message me, I might look at Facebook messages, but I'm shit at it. So but I'm post stuff and I'm there. So basically, I think you can pretty much see everything if I put the little world up there instead of the little world. So Barbie.wild Facebook, I think, is probably the most. And Twitter, I do occasionally copy other people on Twitter.
Excellent.
That was pathetic, wasn't it?
No, perfectly fine. You're on the main social media and as well as Doug if they look you up. How about you, Simon? Where can we find you?
I'll be concise. So Facebook, Twitter, or if you wanted to go to IMDb, you'd boost my star rating that I pretend I don't care about.
I like your style, Simon. Thank you very much. Heidi, where can we
possibly
find you?
be boosted any higher, Simon.
we usually
legend in your own lunchtime.
No, we usually catch you on Saturday nights, Heidi. Where can we find you now?
Yep. You can just find me on Instagram. I'm under Heidi L. Gardner. And whenever you guys invite me back to be a Hellraiser Cenobite little sister.
Yeah. You guys go.
And Heidi, now that we've invited you onto Hellraiser, when are we getting the invites onto SNL?
Okay, I'll get to work. I have the whole summer to figure that out.
There you go.
At the top of the show.
There's no pressure at all. There's no pressure at all.
Peter, you're on Twitter. Where else can we find you?
I'm at Limey Bastard 55 and I've got a Facebook page that I share with my another writer friend of mine, Glenn Hirschberg. It's called Rolling Darkness Review. So you can find Rolling Darkness Review on Facebook and on YouTube. There's a Rolling Darkness Review YouTube channel where Glenn and I read horror stories for you. So after you're done watching Doug read Frankenstein, you could come and watch me read stuff too. Twitter's the only one I'm really on. So yeah, Limey Bastard.
Can I just jump in again, which is to say that any day now, literally any day now, we will get the puff of white smoke from ACX, from Audible, to tell us that my reading of Pete Atkins' brilliant novel Morning Star is going live. So that's all done. It's recorded, and it's literally any day now. We're just waiting for Audible to say you've passed or that was crap. We're not publishing that.
Right. What the hell were you thinking?
Hey, can I just also say, talking about Audible, my disgusting Diary of a Serial Killer novel, The Venus Complex, is an Audible book narrated by
Bradley.
Doug
It's all
Bradley.
different depending on where you're looking.
I believe one of the reviews
above
said
your right shoulder, Nick.
Oh, okay.
The smoothly venomous
Yes.
tones or something.
Ow.
I mean, he does a brilliant job. It's and very pleased to have worked with Doug on this project. So.
Yeah, all right. Your check's in the post, Barbie. Thank you.
Thank you, darling.
Excellent. Always looking forward to hearing Doug's voice. Nicholas, where might you be?
You can find me on www.nicholasvince.com. I'm on Facebook as Nicholas Berman Vince and Nicholas Vince, at Nicholas_Vince, and Twitter. Exclusive.
Twitter. Red. You've no idea how much that amuses Steph. Twitter. Twitter.
I'm opening my Redbubble shop today. So you can buy T-shirts with silly cartoons.
I'm selling Redbubble.
There's a link in the thing, and there's going to be some Hellraiser T-shirts as well. So if you go over to Redbubble, there's be some Hellraiser stuff coming. There's already one. It's very silly Hellraiser, but there's going to be some more Hellraiser stuff coming on this week. And so yeah, mostly you'll find me on Facebook or nicholasfinn.com.
You can also scoot along to the store at my website, dougbradley.com, and you can, purchase your 10x8s, including a group Cenobite shop of all 4 Cenobites together, which is already pre-signed by Nick and Simon and Barbie, to which I will then pen my own scroll, and you can have the dedication of your choice there. You find my book, my T-shirts, baseball caps, well, that's all there in the store. You can run along and have a look at that.
My store is going to be reopening, not my Redbubble store, but my normal store with Funko Pop Chatterers. That's reopening this week as well.
And I will get told off if I don't talk about Dark Ditties. So if you want to see Ken Cranham from Hellraiser 2, then he's doing Dark Ditties on Amazon Prime.
And soon there will be one. The first Dark Ditties has 5 members of the Hellraiser cast in it, and then once things maybe calm down, there'll be another one with August. Excellent. Simon, myself, and Tim Dry, who played the monster in Extro horror fans, and he was also a fuzzy creature in Star Wars Return of the Jedi. He's also in it. And some wonderful names in the last one, which is called Dad.
Excellent. And where can you find Christopher?
What's that? Did you call me? What?
On for you. Where can we find you?
Yeah, sure. I'm really a dimwit with all this stuff, so this has been sort of written down for me. So you can find more info on me at the official Christopher Young on Instagram. And if you want to hear some music, it's on Spotify, iTunes, and Amazon. Does that make sense?
Yay!
And what else can I say? In terms of stuff, there's a film that's coming out in August. It's a Disney film called The Empty Man that I did the score for, and it's a twist sort of mindfuck movie of the best of sorts, and so I'm excited about that. That's kind of it, I'm again just to round up this whole moment in I think all of our lives is we are excited. You guys there were overseas shooting the film. I didn't meet you much after the fact, and it's been wonderful for me to hear your stories. But nonetheless, here we are all tied for eternity because of this movie. And we've all gone off and done different things, but coming back to this, and I have to thank my luckies that this experience happened to all of us, and I'm thrilled and honored to the opportunity to be integrated into your lives through this movie. We don't spend any time together. It's kind of weird that we're part of this miraculous movie that's affected so many people, and yet I don't know very much about you, and you don't know much about me, but we are bound, as I said, it's probably going to be etched on our tombstone.
Well, I think we can all say thank you to Clive Barker.
Yes. To Clive, of course.
Yeah. The genius of Clive,
Yeah, he's the man.
Yeah.
With all his cock.
You are incorrigible, you are.
I'm very enthusiastic every time cocks are mentioned, Heidi.
I read the books of blood. There's like
which is fine. No reason why
1,000
not.
cocks in that book.
Exactly.
There's a good name for a heavy metal band, 1,000 Cocks.
In one book.
Musicians, I hope you've been taking notes. You've heard a lot
On
of
a
good
double bill with Julie throat wound.
Yeah.
Oh,
Heidi, if you were going to join in the franchise, would you be a new female Cenobite, or would you prefer to be the final girl? Human or monster?
I was just thinking about this. I think I'd want to be a Cenobite. Because even just wearing this shirt makes me feel more powerful. So being in that makeup, like feeling how you guys felt, I think I could like bury some souls or
Yeah. I think you'd kick ass. It'd be great.
yeah, kick butt, go, you know.
Nick turned into a dog.
Skins off. It's fun.
Well,
it's
remind you
really
of that when you're in the
fascinating.
makeup chair.
good point.
Well, powers that be, license holders, pay attention. We want this. The fans are calling for this. New Hellraiser and Heidi Gardner.
Well, the new TV series, Heidi, get your agent onto it.
Okay.
Well, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this off. I want to thank you all. Once again, this is Cody Chavez with Nostalgic Nebula. We do events here at the Frida Cinema, a nonprofit art house cinema. We've been raising donations. We want to thank each and every one of you who gave today to us. If you're watching this feed later on after this live stream, you can go down to the info section and you'll still be able to give to the Frida Cinema. We really appreciate your contributions. This nonprofit will endure with your help. You guys can all stay on the feed and say your goodbyes as soon as then we'll cut the stream and you guys could stay on and say your goodbyes. Just wanted to do a little sign off. Thank you, Christopher Young, the composer of Hellraiser. Thank you, Peter Atkins, the writer, Pattern, Nicholas Vince, Barbie Wild, the female Cenobite, Simon Bamford, the Butterball, and Doug Bradley, Hellpriest himself, Pinhead. Thank you all for joining us today.
And Heidi.
And happy birthday to Kelly Rawn.
Oh, and special thank you to our producer, Martin Nguyen. He is the one who made all this possible. You'll see it on the YouTube feed. He made it so that all of our images popped up and we have all these logos and everything. We worked really hard for this. So thank you, Martin. Thank you, Logan, the proprietor and founder of the Frida Cinema. Happy Hell, everybody.
Thank you.
Happy Hell.
And thank you, Cody, for putting up with us all.
Oh, no problem. It's been an honor. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you all soon. Signing off in
Okay.
3, 2, 1.